or I mean, even Unleash the Hounds, they can clear off, I guess, the 2 Murlocs if they want to do that now. It feels like that's going to be more powerful later, but they may just not have a choice.
I would imagine Microtech controller is better here, just because it puts a low minions that can actually deal with the board online. Exploder is only really putting 1 minion in play, just because there's no war gear, there's no Zodiacs, there's no missile launcher in hand, so there's no way for these goblin bombs to really be relevant. Because the 1/1s are there, like even if the 2/2 is to hit into a 1/1, Unleash the Hounds will then just clean up the board as you stated earlier. But yeah, this is a really bad state of affairs.
This is going to be brutal because I mean every one of those Murlocs is also a chance to get another Underbelly Angler and keep the value engine going. So being able to play 3 1-drops this turn, or actually they've already gotten another one.
Yeah, they've already got another one.
And the Grimscale Oracle is just gonna make that even more damage.
Seem to be rolling a lot of Grimscale Oracles. That's the 3rd one.
Yeah. And, I mean, there aren't that many Murlocs either. I'm not sure how standard right now, but there aren't that many of them. So you're pretty likely to get something good out of these Underbelly Anglers. And especially, like, there's just... You roll so many times with all of these 1-drops. And they're deciding if they want to leave these mechs on board or not. Looks like they are going to direct some of this damage into the mechs just to try to keep from like a Ziliax coming down and ruining their day, I suppose.
Or missile launcher, because missile launcher would also be really good here. But
yeah,
we can see Gamer's Origin's hand is looking very dry. Like there's no way to make use of this Goblin Bomb, and I think after showing a turn like this to attack mode, they're probably going to see it's like, okay,
yeah,
there's no real magnetize effect, right? If there was a Replicating Menace, for example, I think that would be a very free card for them to play. Just make the read that the Goblin Bomb is not really going to be serving very much use.
This is going to be a gross turn. They've got 2 Grimscale Oracles, they've got a Tide Caller, and then they can play Soul on a full board of 7. This is
trade gross. As well, yeah.
Probably just trade off the Goblin Lackey just to make room on the board, take out the 2/1.
Same time, they do want to also make sure they don't run out of cards, and that's a Murloc War Leader right there.
That's sure
gonna be
is
really huge.
Holy smokes! Interesting choice to give the poisonous to the one that can't attack. Yeah, they're gonna.
Reason why that might have been merit in holding on to the Goblin Lackey from earlier, just because you could give like a Murloc Poisonous and Rush, but
yeah, this is so much damage.
Yikes!
And Soul Murloc on the full board will trade off the Goblin Lackey to get another Murloc to make that Tide Caller even bigger. And just making sure that there's nothing ridiculous. There is the Ziliax, but I don't think Ziliax is saving them here. I mean, Unleash the Hounds, maybe, but even Unleash the Hounds, that's going to be a lot for those dogs to clean up.
Yeah, just like its Druid counterpart in Soul of the Forest, Soul of the Murloc is... They've had a really good card at just making sure these board states are preserved. And because the minions being summoned are Murlocs, it does mean that cards like the Grimscale Oracle, I believe there is at least... no, there's only one in hand, but there's Grimscale Oracle and Murloc War Leader in hand, so... Murloc that is going to survive this turn is at +4 attack.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, +3 attack, my bad. So, very difficult scenario for Gamer's Origin. I'm not really sure how they come back from this, to be perfectly honest with you.
I'm not either. Like they can unleash and put 6 dogs on the board, but there's 8 health worth of serious threats on the board right now that they just can't deal with. And I mean, they can magnetize the Ziliax. Magnetizing Ziliax will at least like give it 1 more health. I don't even know if they want to. It's just like none of these options really just do enough. They all do something, but it's just like stopping the bleeding or like slowing down the bleeding, really.
See the Ziliax coming down on the Goblin Bomb.
Yeah.
But the Tide Cooler bit. This also makes room on the board now a 3/1 can trade into the bomb, and then a Murloc War Leader can come down and deal a frankly absurd amount of damage.
Yeah, this is gonna be pretty sick.
It is currently 10 plus 12. That is 30 damage. We are going to gain them 3.
That is some very, very, very dangerous fish.
Yeah.
Wow.
I doubt the Murloc Shaman, but as it happens, when it queues into Hunter, a deck that performed well, it's pretty good.
And when you have 2 Underbelly Anglers on, in the opening hand, you can get them out and then just keep chaining that value. You can see how strong that can be. And I mean, I doubted it too. I was kind of worried about it, but that's the kind of start that it needs. And now it's just going to be this mage from attack mode. This is the Dragon Summoner mage that is going to be up against this Bomb Hunter coming back a second time for Game's Origin.
Yes, and traditionally this has been a matchup that has usually been in the Hunter's favor, just because Mage has had a hard time getting onto the board. I think the Mana Cyclone build is probably like way more suited for beating decks like Hunter, but for like Book of Spectres and stuff, I could see being a very rough time for attack mode for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, even the Mossy Horror is useful, but it's also going to do a lot of face damage when you're killing off all those bombs. I mean, at least gets them off the... And we do have 2 Mossy Horrors in the list for attack mode. The Rabble Bouncers that are in the list could help a little bit, both by enabling the Conjurer's Calling as well as just getting a butt in the way. But they do get a Conjurer's Calling and a Voodoo Doll in the opening hand. That's about as good as you can hope for, I think, out of this version of the list.
Voodoo Doll is actually pretty important, just because it means that if Game's Origin go for like the super big mech plan with like war gear and stuff, they have a way of dealing with it. Because of the Witch Doctor as well, they actually passed the first turn. That's really
I'm interested in that too. Why would they pass with 2 Mecharus in hand?
I guess they're worried about giving the mage a free ping. Mecharoo comes down, ping happens. There's no way for them to buff Mecharoo, so I think they're just trying to get like one thing to stick onto the board, and that's a really huge pickup.
Yeah, so they can either go double Mecharoo now, or they could go Mecharoo Coin Fireworks Tech. They're going to go with the double Mecharoo plan. Magic Trick taken off the Fire Tree Witch Doctor is an interesting choice, especially because they did have a Fireball that they were able to choose as well. Though I guess this does give them an option for like Frostbolt or Conjurer's Calling or some other cards that could be useful to them.
I think that would be pretty underrated here. Would be Arcane Explosion or Shooting Star, just because of all the 1-drops there.
Yeah. I guess
matchup is going to be more about just clearing a wide board rather than a tall one, at least as far as what attack mode is seeing from the opener.
Yeah, and I mean, I would imagine this Magic Trick is just going to come down now, because you're not playing a Voodoo Doll into this. You don't really want to use a Conjurer's Calling or Khadgar, so you're going to have the mana left over anyway. Oh, wait.
Oh, they apparently disagree.
Huh. I was not expecting that.
I think either, but that's not too bad.
No, it's not. I mean, it does give them 2 minions to contest. And Gamer's Origin, they can coin out a Replicating Menace on one of these. They can Fireworks Tech the Mecharoo that still has the Death Rattle. I don't think there's really much for them to tracking to look for. I guess maybe a Galvanizer, but they are gonna go hunting for something, it looks like.
I prefer this just because coin Replicating Menace doesn't really give you much of a follow-up.
Yeah, that's
you can trade and then you have like no play on 4, which is something you always want to avoid if you can.
Yeah, this is a rough set of choices though, because these are all cards that they would want, and having to give away 2 of them, like tracking is usually pretty good in this scenario, but this is the one of the times where the downside is relevant.
Not sure I entirely agree. I'll post the voice of fellow UK caster Sol here and say that most of the time when you're seeing 2 cards from a tracking, you just assume they're at the bottom of the deck. They don't matter.
We're not going to fatigue in this deck, in this game. Yeah, that's fair.
Citron come down, just trying to make sure that they still have stuff that they can do. And it's not too bad with the Fire Stick either, just because it is just another way of drawing cards.
Sure. There's a Book of Specters. I guess the question is, can you get away with that? You could ping the 3/3 and then bump the 2/3 into it. You have no board left, but presumably you're going to get stuff. They're going to try with this magic trick. Oof. Those are not
Freeze
great
isn't
choices.
bad.
Yeah, Freeze is probably the best of the three of them. They could just roll again with the Tome of Intellects. They'll
Feels
have
like that's just a waste of mana at that point, honestly. I think I'd rather take either the Icicle or the Snap Freeze at that point.
Yeah, I mean, Snap Freeze is going to be good at least at dealing with a small minion. Or a large minion, rather. A small minion. It's not great to deal with small minion. Microtech Controller comes in, and there's the Replicating Menace that they could just stick onto the Ursatron and go face if they want to. They draw with the Fireworks tech. And then they still have mana left over to Hero Power.
I actually really like this play from attack mode, just because there's no easy way of dealing with the Voodoo Doll, right?
Yeah.
They can trade the 3/3 into it, but that's totally fine. At that point, a Voodoo Doll is basically a 3/3 of Taunt. And if they don't, then like Games Origin does know that there is a Conjurer's Calling in attack mode's hand. If they don't kill the Voodoo Doll right now,
then they get 2/3 drops, yeah.
goes in hand too, so they get 4 3 drops. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out. I don't know what the right thing to do in this situation is. I mean,
if they play any minion with 1 health, they're just making the Voodoo Doll like even better.
Yeah.
Huge.
I mean, this is at least like, you know, push. Well, okay, they're playing that alongside, and then using that to trade off the 2/2, knowing that it's going to die to the Voodoo Doll. But again, they do have that Conjurer's Calling. Second Book of Specters picked up by attack mode. This is. They can even just use the Dragon Maw Scorcher if they want to. Yeah, trade that off, and then use the Dragon Maw Scorcher to clear off the rest of the board, and then they got a 3/6 against nothing.
Exactly. And we all know what happens when a big mana cost minion sticks. Especially with, again, Cadgot's Conjurer's Calling. No way of dealing with it.
And they know that Conjurer's Calling's in their hand. Brett, we've already seen Conjurer's Calling roll a Leroy once today.
I don't think they want to roll it again, though.
Not here, no. But there are other decent 5-drops that they could roll. Rotten Apple Bombs are pretty decent, too.
Earth Elemental isn't bad.
Yeah, Earth Elemental we've seen today, too. I don't know.
Maybe dropping the Direwolf Alpha.
I mean, you're sending that.
Trades.
You're sending that out to die if you're doing that. Yeah, they're just thinking better of it and deciding to Hero Power.
Yeah.
And Spellbreaker in the list is something that we didn't talk about. That's not typically in the Conjurer Mage, but that can be relevant later on with magnetic shenanigans as well. And still a lot of decisions for attack mode. They're still holding on to these Book of Specters that, you know, they do get a higher chance of hitting the other Conjurers bonds, but this seems pretty good too.
Here we go.
Okay.
So we've got Deathwood Spider and the 4/4. It's not.
That's not bad. What is? Oh, those are Tree Speakers that came out that are the 4/4s. I mean, that's just a lot of power. I mean, those could have been a lot worse. 2 4/6s by themselves, even without taunt, is not bad. And we've already seen one Venomizer used alongside, and the other missile launcher is gone. So this missile launcher, if the second Venomizer is picked up, could deal with this, but it's not particularly likely with 16 cards left in it.
And at this point, like, the defensive position, which is something they really don't want to be doing, just because it's sort of like the Warrior from earlier, right? It's just a matter of the Hunter just running out of cards before they can close out the game.
Yeah.
Flark is a pretty good 7-drop, but not much when there's 16 power just on the board. Just like staring you down, killing you in 2 turns at this
Yeah,
point.
and some of these lists do run like the Bronze Gatekeeper for this situation where you can just get a lot of butt and a taunt in the way, but this list is choosing to run the Microtech controllers instead. And normally against, you know, when it can keep the initiative, that's a good choice. Here, it's kind of becoming a bit of a liability because these one health minions are just getting cleaned up. And this is, again, a lot of power. This is going to be 14 damage incoming if should attack mode decide to send it all face. Even have the Ice Skull to clear off the Direwolf if they want to. Oh, wow, that Mossy Horror.
And that's the Mossy Horror, yeah. Under earlier, but Beggars can't be choosers.
They can't play it this turn because not enough mana, but that's probably going to be relevant pretty soon. No Dragon in hand to activate the Scale Worm, but they do have that Icicle to deal with the Direwolf and choose to ping off one of these minions with their remaining mana. Looks like they're going to take out the 2/1. And taking no chances, just leaving none of these mechs on board. That 6 damage going into minions with this much of a board, but against a mech hunter with the magnetic minions, it is sometimes a good idea to be a little bit more prudent with the minions that are left on board.
I think if I was the one piloting that turn, I would have played some Fury Protector on the 4/6 instead here.
Yeah.
Just because, like, it leaves Khadgar alive, and Khadgar was alive anyway, thankfully. And now we can see why I wanted to leave Khadgar alive, because we've got good old Astromancer in hand.
Yeah.
And 2 very big minions later on. Oh, they almost missed 2 damage.
Yeah, they were
almost.
Yeah, they almost blew away the Khadgar with the Mossy Horror, but they caught themselves. Yeah, that Astromancer is going to put out 2 7-drops, which could be pretty big if they decide to do that. They're still thinking about it, and then they're also thinking about where the rest of these minions are going to go if they do that. Are they trading the Khadgar first?
It looks like they're committing to the Mossy Horror plan. I personally, if I was doing this, I would more heavily consider going for Astromancer and just continuing to put on pressure.
They talked themselves out of it. It looks like they are going to use that 4/3 to trade off the, which is, well, they are still going with the Mossy Horror plan.
They just decided to push 2 damage rather than 1.
Yeah.
So they're just really scared of that possibility of the magnetic with the missile launcher venomizer combo that you were saying earlier.
Or even just a Ziliax. Well, I guess the Ziliax isn't going to make that much of a difference on those minions, but like War Gears are still on the list. So you have Warriors, you have Venomizer, you have Missile Launch as the magnetic minions in this list. So that, you know, those are all pretty big minions that can go face immediately or trade off this board that they've been working pretty hard to build. And maybe they felt like the Khadgar Astromancer was too greedy, which is possible. I mean, they're pretty far ahead right now. Like, they've kind of earned the right to play a little bit more cautiously, just make sure they don't lose to some sort of nonsense coming out from the hunter.
It's fair. I would say the what's it called? The missile launcher poison combo is the only thing I would be scared of at this point, because we do see that there is the Spellbreaker and the Voodoo Doll in the hand, so they're not overly concerned about the board. And at least I wouldn't be, personally. Yeah. They're just wanting to make sure, just cross the T's, dot the I's, just make sure that there's no way they can lose from such an advantageous position when they're already 2 up. Just want to secure that 3-0 sweep. Like, another 3-0 sweep.
Yeah, it's what it's looking like.
A lot of those today. Yeah.
And so, I mean, they could. I wonder if they're gonna, how much they care about this healing off of the Ziliax, or if they're gonna use that Voodoo Doll or the Spellbreaker on it, just to get it out of the way.
Feels like it would probably be a waste if they're gonna kill it anyway.
Well, I guess the Voodoo Doll would make sense to deny the healing if you're going with the line of remove all the max. Then at least that kills it, but.
At what cost, though?
Yeah. So they are going to continue to remove that, deny the healing, Gale Worm to clean up the 2/2, and they still get to push 9 damage face.
Yeah, they do set up lethal still. Now then.
Yeah, and there's the War Gear that they were probably worried about. So now it can't really hurt them too much because it can't attack. So they may have been right to do that.
They're just dead.
Yeah. That's it. 3-0.
Yep.
Wow. So
I was gonna say every series today we've seen on stream has been a 3-0 sweep one way or another.
yeah.
That's it's a bit of a bad omen, I think.
Well, this was probably one of the more unlikely ones because I don't think that. I mean, we were not expecting the Murloc Shaman Dragon Mage, lineup to be able to win, and especially like that Dragon Mage against the Bomb Hunter, which is typically a pretty unfavored matchup from the Mage perspective. But finding some unusual lines and again playing very cautiously at the end to ensure that nothing was going to come out and blow them out and take away that board that they worked on building up.
Yeah, and so now I believe the attempt mode is 5-1, so they should be in the top 12. I'm pretty sure about that, along with Nordvin and obviously quite a few other teams that we've seen from this past round. I do not have the bracket in front of me, but I'm pretty sure you do, don't you?
I don't, but I'm hoping that we will have that someone over on the analyst desk when I move back over there will have that in front of them and we'll be able to wrap up the day and figure out the standings. But I think this was a pretty unexpected match, but I thought this was a lot of fun to watch too. I mean, these are definitely not some lists you're getting to see very often, and some pretty interesting scenarios that kind of came out of this.
Yeah, and these are also some players that we're not seeing very often as well. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the names on attack mode, like these aren't people you're seeing on the DreamHack and HCT stream. So it's nice to see them just showing that they can keep up with some of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
That's also
Yeah,
nice to
and
see.
making a name for themselves, especially in this tournament with a lot of names. And so I think we're just waiting for the analyst desk to be set up, and then we'll move over there.
Hmm.
And but so any final thoughts while we're wrapping up this match?
Uh, I'd say this has mostly just been a day of upsets, really. Like for the most part, like I'd say the underdog team, besides Nordavind, won by every time. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
where the
yeah.
skill edge in conquest can come from.
Yeah, the Nordovan match was definitely something. Um, so sorry. And
Fine.
yeah, and the just the way that some of those matches worked out and some of those blowouts. I mean, seeing Miracle Mage, dominating the way that it does, uh, sometimes can just blow up is pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think we are good to throw over the analyst deck. So Paradox. So Paradox, thank you for casting with me. This was a pleasure, and we'll throw it over to the analyst desk where I will join Dib and Livion. So gentlemen, what did you think?
Hey, yo, welcome back, Wicked Good. Well, welcome back to us, more like it. What did we think? I think Dib is better to say something about it than I am.
Yeah, I think I just want to highlight that last game in particular. I mean, we discussed a lot off camera the whole the Conjurers calling on the Fire Tree Witch Doctor. I think that was really the key thing in that
Yeah.
matchup. I think
Yeah.
that was really a good spot from attack there. That made such a big difference to like never letting the Bomb Hunter get on board, which was so important. So I think that was very well played from attack there. And I mean, we saw in the other games the shaman just went absolutely silly with those underbelly anglers. I mean, that's pretty much the nuts curve for your Murloc shaman. I think the deck can be a little bit inconsistent, but when you hit those kind of curves, it's pretty strong. And then, I mean, the first game as well, we saw that the warrior kind of almost seemingly run out of options, but I think the rogue went a little bit slow, and I think attack mode got a little bit lucky to kind of win right at the end there with the 1-in-3 bomb chance. But yeah, they managed to pull it out with that big Edwin. So congrats to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we were questioning that call with the Conjurers calling, while we were casting it too, and it does make sense because you are unfavored in that matchup, and you do sometimes have to make some more unusual plays and take some risks, and giving up one of those copies of Conjurers calling, which you're probably not going to get to use in that match anyway on a giant, and then just using it to get a couple of minions to try to fight for board early, it turned out to be the right call, and it was really a pretty well considered line from attack mode that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed that it was another 3-0, but fair to them, attack mode really showed what they were worth. And for Games Origin, this is of course not the end. Attack mode now through to the playoffs, to the top 12, together with Nordavind. And in rounding out the game, you said, well, there's probably other teams that made it as well. So far, no other teams. There will be one more joining the top 12 for today. It will be either ENS or Oslo Lions. But we don't know the result of that game yet. But then we only have three teams so far in the top 12, which are Nordavind, Attack Mode, and so either ENS or Oslo Lions. Any surprises there for you guys?
I mean, obviously Nordavind are a very strong team, and we've kind of waxed lyrical about them already, so no real surprise there. Attack Mode are kind of, as an organization, are new to the EU side of things, having done well on the NA side before. So it's interesting to see them make that switch and still succeed. And then, I mean, ENS are a really strong MGO generally, so you'd kind of expect their team to do well. And then Oslo Lions, I mean, depending on which one of those two makes it. I mean, the Scandinavian Hearthstone scene is like so ridiculously strong. I'm not surprised to see Scandinavian teams in the top, making it to that top 12.
Yeah, I mean, Attack Mode in particular, like I know that those players, Smiley Chris and Stormfever and Fagular, aren't as well known as someone like a Hunter Ace or the other teams that are in the competition, but they are all very good players that are getting to show that they're on the same level as some of these organizations with a lot of star talent. So being able to have qualified for the playoffs this early against this level of competition is definitely something that is going to make them a team to watch once we get into the playoffs.
Yep.
And on the other side, all down below in the bracket, we see Intrepid Fox, winner of last season, not doing quite as well this time around. So that could be saying something about how they're playing, but it could also be saying something about the expansion of the field that we have seen compared to last season. Like, we've got 30 teams now, and I think all these teams have players that can beat others. Like, none as good as Hunter Ace, obviously, but even for unknown teams, this is a great way to get some exposure and to show what they're worth. For Dib, I don't know how familiar you are with the scene because this is literally the first time we're speaking, but are there any teams here that you're like, oh man, you really have to watch that team?
I think some of the surprises are like Helsinki Reds have been doing pretty poorly so far. They're at 2 and 3 at the moment. And basically, like, you can still get through with 5 and 4, so you can still get through with 4 losses. But if you start off with those bad tiebreakers by kind of losing early, it's going to be difficult for them. So I think, that's a surprise, but definitely a team we could see kind of make a late push and still make it to the top 12. I mean, they were top 4 last season as well, so that's another a good indicator there. So I think they're one of the teams to watch out for. And then Isuba also a little bit of a surprise, seeing them at 2 and 4 at the moment. So maybe those two teams could make a late push from the bottom of the standings at the moment.
And Wicked, do you see any positive surprises here as well?
Not really surprising. I mean, I'm a dirty NA player, so I'm not as familiar with the EU scene as you all are, to be honest. But I think that, I mean, a lot of the teams that we're expecting are most of them are making it fairly far in the bracket, and I think that I'm really just excited to see what happens at this last push to the playoffs, to be honest.
Yup. Yeah, I myself am a Benelux player, and we have 4 Benelux teams in this competition, and they're all 4 still in there. MCon Esports doing the best of the 4, being 4-2 in the standings right now. So I'm rather proud of my region, to be honest. That's fun to see. But with that, I think we had some cool games today, even though they weren't the longest series. They were pretty intense, that's for sure. A lot of diversity in the decks and some upsets, as Paradox already said. So overall, I'd say that it's a pretty great day of games. Any final words from you guys?
Yeah, not much really to add. I mean, I think it was definitely some entertaining games that we've seen, and look forward to kind of the last couple rounds of Swiss next weekend, I believe, and then going through to the playoffs. Those really cutthroat knockout games.
Yeah. And I would say that, even though we had a bunch of 3-0s, I don't think any indicate. I think we saw some really good matches today, and I'm really excited to see what happens next week as those teams are scrapping for those last couple playoff spots.
As you guys said, next week we will have the final 3 rounds of the Swiss format here. And as I just heard, we have special guest Lorinda coming by next week. So make sure to tune in to really find out who's going through and in with which seeding. Come support your favorite team, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you guys for helping here.